Okay, this is the MT-80AZ microprocessor trainer for learning assembly language programming. In the last videos, I've loaded a program into RAM and run it, and we have seen how it operates in terms of that particular program, which decrements the accumulator and outputs its value to this port here. And the program is loaded here again still. So we walk through here and we see that the program starts at 4,000 even and ends at 4,009. Okay, and just to be sure this is all working right, I'll press go again. We'll look down here and see that that's the program counter. Indeed, all the lights light up and it's running fast, decrementing the accumulator and outputting the value to port FF here. Okay, so I'm going to reset this. So in this video, what I want to show you is how to dump this program from memory off the board and save it as an audio file. And in this case, I'm going to use a laptop. The circuitry was designed to interface to a cassette recorder. So there's a microphone and an earphone connector here. So I'm going to plug in a cable into the mic, which turns out to be the output of this board, and I'm going to plug that into the microphone input of my laptop. And I have a sound recorder program that's running over here, and what I'm going to do is get this ready, and when I'm ready to dump the audio, I'll start the recording and start generating the audio out of the board. Okay, so how do we do that? So the first thing you want to do is you want to press this button called dump, and the first thing it's going to ask you for is a file name. That's what the -F means. So in the instruction manual, they call this program beef. I think it's try to be like a, something they could make a word out of. So we'll do the same thing. So we'll call it BEEF. And the next thing you do is press next, and it's going to ask you for the starting memory address, which in our case is 4,000. And logically, the next time you press next, it's going to ask you the ending location, which is 4009. Okay, so we're all ready now. We've loaded a file name, so and the beginning and ending address, and I'm going to start the recorder over here. Okay, and I'm going to press, pardon me while I save the last crummy file. I'm going to press start recording, and I'm going to press go. And this awful sound you hear is the audio. And that's it. So that was a pretty short program. By the way, the speaker is here. I just put this little sticker on here because the sound is so obnoxious when it not only dumps the recording, but when you play it back, you hear it as well. Okay, so I now have a recording, which I'm going to call something here. We'll call it Beef 2, and I'll store it into my MT-80AZ programs file because I already have a Beef 1. And I'm saving it. It doesn't really matter what format you use. I'm using the Windows Media Audio. So I'm going to save that. Okay, so that's there, ready to play back. So how do you play back? Well, because the cassette interface was designed for a cassette recorder, the inputs and outputs, the impedances and the levels were different. For electronic components these days, they're quite a bit more sensitive. So I had to do a lot of things. I had to crank up the microphone gain on the recording program, and I also have to use on the playback a headphone amplifier. So I'm going to actually take the output that I've cranked up on the laptop and run it through an amplifier to get myself the largest signal possible. Why do I do that? So I took a a scope probe and put it on the digital circuitry that reads the audio, and I want to make sure that I'm actually capturing pulses, and these are the pulses. I want to make sure that when I run the audio back into here, the circuitry recognizes the audio and converts it into the digital format that it needs in order to turn that audio back into data that it can load into the memory. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect from here, and I'm going to use the same cable, put it into the headphone output. My output from the laptop is plugged from the laptop over to the input of the little headphone amplifier. I'm going to plug this into the left-hand connector, which is the earphone connector. So it's set up now to listen for the program. Okay, so how do I listen to the program? All right, so that's where you press this button called load. All right, so load is telling me or is asking me what's the name of the program. Well, it already thinks it's beef, so we'll leave that alone. Okay, so all it's doing is determining what the program name is, which was embedded in the audio file. So at this point, I'm going to press go, and these dots indicate that it's waiting for the audio to start. So I'm going to go back to my file here and run beef2, which you'll recall was what I named this file originally. And we're going to listen to a very annoying sound again. Okay, so it knows that that's the correct program called beef. And here's the program. So if I walk through this address location by address location, indeed, this looks pretty good to me. So we'll go back and run the program, and we'll look down here, and yep, that looks like that's working. Okay. Now for the proof of the pudding, let's cycle the power. So there is just simply, the program's gone now. So in fact, if you go to the program counter 4000, there's just nothing in here. Okay. So what we're going to do now is load the program again. So we'll do this over. We're going to load, and now we have to tell it what program it is. So I'm going to type in BEEF, okay, and I'm going to press go. And again, it's waiting for the audio, and I'm going to double click here on my beef2 file, and here we go. Pretty archaic, but it seems to work. Okay, there's the program file name. And now we're going to go back and look at the address. Let's start at 4000 and see 3E0047. Yeah, that all looks right. Last is 4FA. So what I've done is I've shown you that, in fact, we cleared the memory. We were able to read the file name and load it back into memory. And just as the check here, we'll run the program. And indeed, that's working. This is working. I'll reset it, and you can see this is just a random position that we've stopped the program. And I could do things like put the breakpoints in and run that. But anyway, that gives you a good idea of how to dump and load a program to and from the MT-80AZ board.